It's Monday, May 6th, 2013. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, what to do with your bits when your meat stops working.
Let's do this.
So I won't belabor the point, but many of you noticed on Twitter in recent memory I was arguing a bit with Ask.com because they stupidly responded to my tweet.
Really? Usually that kind of place is not going to respond to an aggressive tweet.
I never understand. It's like, well, the thing is...
Do not engage. Usually they do not engage.
It's telling that Oracle did not engage at all.
I don't think Oracle engages with anybody.
Because Oracle does actually
money.
know better. But Ask.com engaged, especially Ask.com Eric, and then magically they suddenly stopped engaging once the retweets started happening. Mm-hmm. So... the funny thing, at the very end of that, they gave me...
I guess they saw the Streisand effect coming in the in the headlights.
Well, I kind of gave them a hint in my Tumblr where I was basically like, if you're Ask.com, don't engage people like me. My job is to catch you saying something stupid in public.
Mm-hmm.
But really, the reason I bring it up now is that I am actually mad about the fact that semi-legitimate software like Java has bundled shitware in it.
Yeah, usually that's the realm of shit software, right? It's like some guy makes a piece of shit program, he includes some, auto-install nonsense in the installer to make money. That's the kind of thing that shady crapware does, not super pro real. So you don't see Adobe doing that. Oh, wait, you do. McAfee when trying to install a Flash plugin.
Oh, my God.
Right. But... usually real software does not do that. It's a low-life thing to do.
So I don't know what to do about it because Java, unless Oracle drops it, it actually causes problems for pretty much everyone who has a company that makes Java using software, and it's not easy to just rewrite everything in another language.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just mad about that lately, and I'm not going to let it go. That's all I got there. That's my opening bit.
Well, actually, because of this, I learned about this really interesting thing I didn't know about before.
Oh, yeah. You sent me a link about this.
Called Ninite, or Ninite, Ninite, right? And what this thing is, I think I'm going to start using this.
Watch, it's malware.
No, it's not. I verified this.
How'd you verify it?
I went and asked around, and I went to...
Who did you ask?
People I know.
Okay, just because a lot of people we know install a lot of wares.
I also checked around the internet in multiple places that are the kind of places that verify malwares and can be trusted.
All right.
Including like security websites.
All right.
And yeah, there's a lot, like NASA uses it, like legit. Like,
NASA or NASA?
And it's not just because it says on the front page that NASA, Harvard, and Tupperware all use this. I actually went and checked to see if NASA actually used it, and they do.
All right.
So the way this thing works is you go to this website, and there's a bunch of checkboxes, right? And there's checkboxes, I realized looking through it, for pretty much every app that I would install on a Windows computer. Here's the ones that I would pick. Chrome, Firefox, Steam, Google Earth, maybe. I don't know.
I always install Google Earth. I haven't actually used it in like 3 years.
Yeah. Skype, maybe. Google Talk or Pigeon or whatever. All the IM clients are on there. iTunes, VLC, maybe Hulu, Winamp, maybe, right? Spotify, maybe.
All right, so it's basically like a repo, but for Windows.
Yeah, Java, Adobe Air, Shockwave, Silverlight, Flash, right? Pretty much everything. VNC client, Launchy. I use Launchy. 7-Zip.
I don't use Launchy anymore. I used to.
WinRAR.
Because Windows just kind of does that now.
The thing in the start menu when you push the window key is not that good.
I've never started typing something and not had it immediately give me what I wanted.
The thing is, I have Launchy configured to do one thing. It's just I have in my home, because you know how sometimes you get applications that you double-click setup.exe and they install properly, right?
Yeah.
And they go into program files and they create start menu icons.
Yep.
And the window key works great for that, right?
Window key works for bullshit. I dragged Putty onto my desktop and it shows up in there.
Really?
Yeah.
But what happens to me is I'll take something like Dwarf Fortress, which is an unzip, and I'll put it inside, users, me applications, a folder I made. If it's an unzip type application, I put it in there, and window key hasn't been finding those, and I don't really want to go through the effort of making a start menu shortcut.
I think there's a way to configure it because window key finds bullshit that I drop in like my home directory.
Okay, also, I really like the keyboard shortcut Alt Space as opposed to Window key.
Ah, true.
Anyway, that's a minor whatever.
Yeah.
Putty is actually something that's on here. But yeah, basically you go to this website, you check the checkboxes for all the apps you want to install, and you click Get Installer. Then it'll give you an EXE, right? And you run that, and it will install all the apps you chose. So you don't have to go around the internet like finding all the Windows apps that you normally get and, collecting all these things, except I guess NVIDIA driver's not on here. But other than that, right, you just go to this one place, get one installer for all your apps and run it, and your Windows box is set up so fast. Even has useful stuff. If you get the Pro version for like a sysadmin administering a whole bunch of Windows machines, you can set all the Windows machines to okay, everybody upgrade Winamp. Everybody install OpenOffice. You can do or LibreOffice now, right? You can do stuff like that with this thing. So this allows you to install a Java without an Ask toolbar, the Sun Java. And people were, Adobe was going after Geeknights because it was skipping the McAfee, whatever.
The fact that Adobe went after it seems to be how most people learned that it exists.
It was the Streisand effect for me, for sure. But this thing is totally awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to use this the next time I have a Windows box I need to set it from scratch.
But it's interesting because years ago I would have said that the biggest problem normal people have with their computers, especially laptops, is all the shitware that OEMs bundle and that Microsoft kind of allows them to bundle. That is the number.
I'm telling you, if Microsoft, right, here's the thing with Windows.
Well, I was about to say, it doesn't matter anymore because people don't use computers.
Right.
They use
It's already
tablets.
too late. But Windows got a bad rap with a lot of people in the world, right, because of all these perceived problems with it, especially Windows Vista and such, right? If Windows would have Microsoft would have put their foot down and said, if you install anything on a computer that is pre-installed with Windows besides Windows, you do not get a discount from us. You have to pay full retail price for every copy of Windows. Every single OEM, like Dell and everybody, HP.
Lenovo's the least bad, and they still bundle a bunch of crap. They still
bundle a bunch of shit, but at least you can uninstall it properly.
Yeah.
Right? Every single one of those people would have stopped immediately, right? Or they would have fought first, but they would have lost. They would have stopped installing garbage like replacing the Windows Wi-Fi with a bullshit Wi-Fi manager. All that shit would have gone away, right? Except drivers.
I just still don't understand how the ecosystem got to the point where that worked. I mean...
And Windows would have had a much better reception among people because using it would have been much more of a pleasure. It would have been the intended experience and not this fucked up, oh, my computer's broken.
But
yeah, because the person who sold you your computer broke it. It's not Microsoft's fault.
Paid whom? Where did the money actually come from? So maybe McAfee pays Lenovo to include it in their bullshit.
Right, I can understand those cases.
But then how does McAfee make that money back?
Who is paying... Right, I understand that McAfee will pay Lenovo to include antivirus-free trial. That makes sense. Who pays Lenovo to include Lenovo Wi-Fi Manager?
I think they do it on their own for a better user experience.
But it ruins it. The built-in Windows Wi-Fi Manager is amazing and great. It works perfectly fine. Why would you cover it up with this Lenovo one that sucks and is ugly? And at the same time, everyone gets really confused because now there's two Wi-Fi managers. You're only ruining it.
I think what I find the most amusing is that Lenovo and other people always do this kind of ineptly. They'll add things to the taskbar, and they try to make them look like they belong there.
Lenovo Battery Manager.
Now, but the thing is, the battery manager, obviously is just slightly the wrong color and just kind of the wrong bezel, and it's obvious that it shouldn't be there. Though,
at least to us, to normal people, they have no fucking clue.
Though the battery manager does include some things you can't do with the Windows one involving actually controlling some deep parameters in the battery.
Right, you should be doing that in a driver, right, for the battery.
I'm not saying that.
That handles the battery properly without changing the user interface, right, whatsoever. And Windows actually includes facilities to do things like that properly. Like NVIDIA, when you go to video properties, right, inside your video properties, there's a thing for the video driver to go to the NVIDIA control panel. It's done correctly, even though it's this extra thing. Right? It's still done properly in the Windows way. It's not some ugly hack where to change resolution, you can't use the Windows change resolution thing anymore, right? It's no, they put the extra NVIDIA controls in the NVIDIA area in a special tab, and all the Windows stuff is still the Windows stuff. It's done correctly. Got to do with that,
Yep. Anyway, the
no one
moral is...
no one would complain. I wouldn't complain if I bought a laptop that had the NVIDIA driver pre-installed.
I think the moral is pretty simple. Don't tolerate bullshit bundleware, and whenever a semi-legitimate company includes it, call them out on it.
Yeah.
Because I'm tired of this shit. I'm tired of uninstalling like 9 toolbars when I visit grandma.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, I mean, this is an issue that's like 10 years old already.
I know. It's kind of like how Congress only recently was like, maybe they shouldn't be allowed to make the volume big higher on ads on TV, now that no one watches TV anymore.
Good job, old guys.
Why don't we close that barn door that seems to have opened a little while ago?
Oh, it'll get all warm in here if we don't have the ventilation.
So you got any news?
I don't have a news, but I have something I discovered today.
Uh-oh.
So Google Authenticator, which everyone should be using, right? The two-factor authentication, because, there's a big problem these days of basically people have shitty passwords and everyone guesses them, and then they say they got hacked when really they just had a shitty password.
Yeah,
I think about over
99%
of the time when someone says someone was hacked, it was password got guessed or password got found out.
Yep.
Well, if someone finds out my password for something, even though I use a different password for everything, that's okay, because they would also need not to only have something I know, my password, but to have something I have, my phone. I'm the only one who has my phone, because they'd need Google Authenticator to log into my mails and such, right? So that is the best security we have in the modern day.
Yep, because the odds of someone stealing your phone and knowing your password are pretty low, though if you're stupid, there's probably a way
If they steal your phone, you'll know your phone is stolen, and you can disable it and reset everything before they are able to do anything.
Or because they're already logged into your mail in your phone, they disable two-factor with the settings, and then they reset all your passwords. Basically, we could do a separate show on this.
If they're that smart and they physically stole your phone, you're already fucked.
Well, the moral, actually, it's interesting because physical security used to be a big deal in computers, but really, in the modern era, email security is more important than everything else for normal people.
Yes.
If your email account gets compromised, you're fucked, and there's almost no way to unfuck yourself.
This is why you need to use two-factor authentication for security, even though it may be a hassle, right? Yeah, okay, you say it's a hassle now, and you don't use it, and then when someone guesses your shitty password that you have it's a really easy-to-guess password because you were lazy and it's a hassle, right? I'm going to say, I told you so, you deserve it, your life is ruined. Good job, loser. Anyway, so there are other things, though, besides Gmail you might want to have two-factor authentication for.
Yeah,
right?
Now, if you're a rich company, you pay for, like, the RSA little key fobs with the counting down numbers.
Exactly. Or you could get a YubiKey, but that requires a piece of hardware that's a USB and can only be used on things with USB, like laptops and computers, not really so much with phones. So if I, have a YubiKey secured, website, and I'll log in from my phone, I can't do that easily. That's very hard to do, if not impossible. What phone has a USB on it that works and can allow a USB keyboard to be plugged in?
Well, I mean, my phone technically has USB storage internally.
Yes, but what if
there's probably 4 pins that I could...
All right, so if I take a USB keyboard with a mini adapter and plug it into your phone, will your phone recognize it as a keyboard?
No, I'd probably have to open up the back of the phone, find the USB pins that are connected to the storage.
Even if you did that, does it have the drivers in Android for USB human interface device for keyboards?
I'm actually kind of curious.
So that a keyboard would work, right?
Oh, I'm not saying it'll work. I'm saying
that's what it would take to make a YubiKey
if
work.
it would work.
But anyway... So you really would like to use this Google Authenticator, which is where you just open an app on your phone and it shows you the number, and the numbers change all the time, right? But that's for Google, right? It's not for anything else. Well, I enabled two-factor authentication for Linode this week when they added it, and I realized, oh, look, they're using Google Authenticator. How are they doing that? Did they make a deal with Google? What the hell is going on here? How they do this? And here's how they do this. There's this completely open thing called TOTP, time-based, one-time password algorithm, right? Or, I guess, time-based, one-time pad.
You get the idea.
Yes. So the way it works is this. Google Authenticator is really just a client for TOTP. You can use it with any TOTP. Right? It doesn't you can even use it as a TOTP. It basically might as well just call it generic TOTP client, and Google happens to be using TOTP. And it just branded the app with Google, but the app actually has nothing to do with Google. It's like a generic client, like MIRC is an IRC client.
So good on Google for that.
Right. So what you do is you open up your Google Authenticator and you press plus, and to add another thing, right? And you push scan barcode. And this will scan a QR code, right, to add basically a new, client to your Google Authenticator. So when you go to Linode and you say add two-factor authentication to my, phone or account, they display a QR code. That QR code has a shared secret. You take a picture of it with your phone. Now the shared secret is on Linode, and it's in your phone, and it's nowhere else. And Linode will never display that secret again, and your phone will never display that secret again. And now your phone and Linode can use the time of day to the second to figure out, the one-time two-factor authentication code. And you're all set. And there's nothing, doesn't even have to hit Google's API or anything like that whatsoever. Google has no part in it, even though the app says Google. You can, in fact, get your own TOTP client or write your own TOTP client. And if you could get the shared secret out of your, Google Authenticator app, you could use that instead.
So, good listeners, if you're a coder and you know what you're doing, you can really impress your company by having two-factor authentication that just works with phones.
It's trivial to add two-factor authentication to any app that doesn't require the users to spend any money on devices or anything of that nature, as long as everyone has a smartphone that could run Google Authenticator, which is every Android and iPhone and possibly others. Also, even if they don't have a smartphone, you can use something like Twilio or your own Asterisk server or something to use text messages or emails for the two-factor authentication. You can just email someone the numbers, right? That's what Steam does for their two-factor, right? It emails you a code when you log in from a new computer and is like, type this code into your Steam. I don't trust you.
Yeah. So in other semi-related news, mostly in terms of DRM security and piracy and all that, the internet is abuzz and Slashdot is angry because Adobe has decided to stop selling $1,000+ packages of Adobe products and just have the subscription-only Adobe Cloud model.
I'm glad I have the Adobe subscription.
I'm also glad I have that, and I think this is a good move for Adobe, and I also think it's a good move for me, the consumer, and good God, are people on Slashdot knee-jerk, ridiculous assholes.
Well, okay, so on the one hand, they have a point, and the point is this.
Well, wait, what do you think Slashdot's point is?
Oh, Slashdot's point is they want to own the software and pirate it or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
pretty much.
Without paying for it. Because no one, basically, this means that future versions of Photoshop will be unpiratable almost, right? No, I'm not going to say that. They'll pirate everything. But anyway, here's the thing. If you pay the $50 a month for the Creative Cloud, that is, right, less money than if you were to buy the Master Suite of Creative Suite and keep it upgraded all the time, right?
Now, the grognard will say, but I don't need to upgrade all the time. I'm wasting money. Now, this is
why... There are people who want to buy, like, just Photoshop, CS6, and never upgrade it ever. And if you just buy one thing and never upgrade it ever, even for hundreds of dollars, that will, in the long run, be cheaper than paying for the Creative Cloud.
Now, those people say that. But they are very short-sighted and usually wrong, because I'm sure those people have a perfectly legitimate copy of Cool Edit that they continue to use to this day on their Windows PC instead of paying the whatever hundreds of dollars for Audition.
Yeah.
The fact is, the reason software like this and enterprise software and all those things is so expensive is that there isn't the biggest market for it. But simultaneously, it's actually really expensive to have good enough developers and design teams to add features to stuff like this. If you think you're going to code up a Photoshop competitor in your basement, you're wrong. And if you think that GIMP is that, you're wrong.
Yeah.
I used to be that way. 10 years ago, I was like, yeah, the GIMP does everything I need. And all my artist friends were like, yeah, because you're not an artist and you don't know shit about drawing or video or audio or pictures
and no one
or
on
anything.
Slashdot does either.
Yeah. One guy on Slashdot was like, well, I guess I'm just going to go back to the GIMP. And the post under that is just brilliant. I'll paraphrase.
At least there was like one brilliant post.
It basically says, yeah, go back to the GIMP. That's basically the equivalent of Photoshop CS2. Doesn't support shit. If you think you can get away with the GIMP,
I have to pay $100 a month for my Ferrari instead of $100,000 once. I guess I'm going back to driving my Pinto.
If you think you can get away with using the GIMP, you never should have been paying for Photoshop in the first place.
Exactly. If you can get away with the GIMP, why were you using Photoshop unless you were pirating it? And if you're pirating it, what do you care how they charge for it? You're just going to pirate it again.
You can get away with the GIMP if all you do is crop images, change the format of images, apply shitty filters to images. That's pretty much it. Photoshop is just better. And yeah, Audacity is, moderately,
not bad. You can get away with it.
Okay, but if you know anything about audio, you'll hate Audacity and it won't do anything you want it to do.
Yeah, I mean, this is, Pro Tools. It's not Pro Tools, it's professional tools.
But the people who say they want to buy it and never upgrade are pretty much always lying, because it's always the same people who complain when CS5 comes out and it has new features they don't have in CS4.
But they also complain that they upgrade and it changed, and I don't like how it changed. But they upgrade anyway.
That is what I was getting at. The most common complaint about this that I see on the internet is that people are mad that now they're just going to get updates to Adobe stuff all the time, and they hate it when the UI changes. Fuck you. People like you are holding software back and have been since the dawn of software.
Yeah.
The people who complained that, oh my God, Office added ribbon menus. Well, fuck that. I'm using Microsoft Works 2000 for the rest of my life. You're the problem. You shouldn't be working anymore.
Yeah, that's a Scott kind of rant right there.
Because I'm sick of it. Because I do that for a living now. And
bring the hammer down.
You know what? In my job, I moved a UI element because the old element was poorly designed in the new version. And despite release notes, despite...
No one reads those.
Yeah. Despite everything, and despite the fact that it was clearly superior and clearly intuitive, I had to deal with people who could not figure the new one out that was just better, and actually opened tickets asking us to restore the functionality they lost.
Yep.
And it was the equivalent of, it's a ribbon menu now instead of your old file menu. They're basically the same.
Yep.
People who can't deal with good changes or evolutionary changes or even revolutionary changes to professional software are no longer professionals, in my opinion.
That's what I'm saying.
At least they're no longer professionals in the field that requires the use of that software.
Right. I'm going to bring a tangent rant that's related, right?
Oh, yeah, rant time.
Yeah, so Git, I'll admit, Git's a complicated motherfucker.
Yeah, I don't know it that well. I have to reference every time I do anything more complicated than commit.
Right. But it's also a powerful motherfucker. It's the whole hog.
Oh, back to the whole hog.
You know that whole hog.
Everyone who listens to Geeknights should know about the whole hog.
That's right. If you haven't, search for whole hog, HOLE space HAWG. You'll find a basically an excerpt from the book. In the beginning was the command line by Neil Stephenson. Read that excerpt. Anyway, but everybody these days has to use the Git, or at least lots of people do, especially with GitHub taking over the world. Right?
There's I'd say 30% of the people who should be using Git are using Mercurial because they moved to Mercurial.
You're giving Mercurial too much credit.
No, I'm
near
saying
that much percent.
They moved to Mercurial before Git existed or they knew about it. And they're not going to move again.
There's not too many Mercurial users left out there.
There
Bitbucket
are in corporate America, Scott.
Even Bitbucket, which was the GitHub of Mercurial, added Git support and is now basically
okay,
Git
so you didn't let me
Mercurial.
finish. 60 to 70% of people who need complex revision management are using Git. The other 30
I
to
think
40,
it's a higher percent than
the
that.
other 30 to 40% want to be using it and are stuck currently with Mercurial and are desperately trying to change.
I think most people who aren't using Git, I think a lot of them are just stuck on Subversion or something else, like Visual Source Safe or something.
I find, luckily, most of the people who use Subversion as their primary change control are using it for non-code, where it actually does a pretty good job.
Git is even better at non-code than anything else.
But non-code implies non-coders. Do you know how hard it is to explain the concept of revision management to someone whose only job is to draw pictures?
And this is my point that I was getting to in this rant. I don't care if your job is draw pictures, right? Are you a professional picture drawer, right? Are you working with people on a digital product? Maybe you are drawing pictures for a website or drawing pictures for an application, right? I don't care if Git is primarily a programmer's tool, right? It is a revision control tool. It doesn't care if you're working with coder pictures or videos or whatever, right? And it is a tool you need to learn for your job. If you are professional, fucking learn it. None of these fucking easy things, cover up things.
The problem is, not the problem, the reason is that people don't have to learn it for their jobs because the majority of companies do not have good processes and everything's so slow and inefficient that it doesn't matter if they know how to use good tools or not. It'll be just as slow,
but
if not slower.
It's true, but I see many...
So I'm going beyond you, and I'm going to say this. Yes, you can probably get a job to make just fine money.
Oh, yeah, you can.
If you only know how to do one thing and do it well. But the people who will be employed for their entire lives, the people who will make ridiculous money, the people who will run shit, are the people who know how to do one thing really well and know how to use computers.
Right, but this is not the aspect I was getting at.
Okay,
the aspect I am getting at is that you look online, and even in hacker communities of programmers, people are making things such as the very popular Git flow and GUIs and all these cover-ups of the Git command line to sort of limit its power into just a few things so that someone who's a dumbass can still use it without having to learn it. They don't want to learn it. They say, I don't want to learn that complicated thing. I want it, but I have to use it.
You're so mad. So in 2 years, I have not touched a knob on the compressor.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to touch a knob because how angry you are right now.
Okay. But the point is,
the knob's
if
getting
you're
moved.
a professional, you should fucking learn that shit. Don't be like, oh, I want to cover it up. Yeah, if you're covering it up and making it easier for yourself or reducing the power and because you're avoiding learning, you are not a professional.
Now, don't get us wrong.
You might still be really good at drawing pictures.
I'm saying this. I know Scott really well. Don't get us wrong. We are not saying that intelligent defaults and GUIs are a problem.
No.
A good GUI is always better than a good command line, except the barrier, the bottom level to being a good GUI is unattainable by the majority of UI designers.
Yep.
I mean, I don't even make GUIs that are that good or that transcendent.
There are Git GUIs that are good GUIs. There are some that are bad. But the good ones and the bad ones both severely reduce the power of Git by reducing the things that you can do, right? The only way to actually use and understand all of Git is to use the command line. There is no other way. It's just so powerful. There's so many buttons and knobs, right? It's like a whole hog. If and using a GUI on top of it is like using a cheap plastic drill again. You might as well not use Git. It'd be, you're limiting its power so much. Why don't you just use Subversion then? Right?
So, to get back to the news and the main point of this, my point is simply that the people who are complaining that the UIs of their professional software are changing are one of the biggest problems in corporate world today, because that is why so much software is so stagnant. If you're actually a professional audio engineer and you know your shit, if you load up Audition one day and some stuff's moved around, you'll not only notice that it moved, but you'll understand where it moved and why intuitively almost all the time. And if you can't, either you're not actually a professional or that software got worse, and it's very rarely the latter.
Usually, it's that you didn't learn, like if you learn word processing, you can use Microsoft, and you've used Microsoft Word your whole life, and I give you Abbey Word and say use this, or I give you LibreOffice and I say use this, you should be able to just use it without having to ask any questions.
Yeah, if you use Audition...
If you understand the concept of word processing. But too many people learn, for example,
it's simple.
Audition.
They learn a workflow or a product. They don't learn a concept or a skill.
Right. If you learn Microsoft Word and you only just remembered specific buttons to press in Microsoft Word in a specific order, such that if Microsoft Word changes, you don't know what to do, or if you have to use OpenOffice, you don't know what to do, then you didn't really know what the hell you were doing, right? And I don't want to hire that kind of person. I want to hire someone who, if they know word processing and can use any word processor. I want to know someone who knows audio engineering. And if one's workplace they go to has Pro Tools and another one has Audition, they should be just fine. If they have a problem switching like that and they just can't figure out the differences on their own, that's not a person of high skill who I want to hire. And I would probably, if I was hiring people, that's the kind of thing I would try to figure out is like, can this person, do they really understand the core concepts? Could they do their job using a different tool set?
Well, that's why. Notice how, like, when I interview people...
And there would be almost no one to hire.
When people like us interview programmers, a lot of times, at least I'll ask them, just to make sure that they know what they're doing, to explain to me how they would go about architecting a simple problem in code. Because if they can't... without reference, I don't need them to write code in front of me by hand. That's stupid. But if they can't like get the concept across of how they would do something in a vacuum, then they probably couldn't write code to do that thing given all the reference in the world.
Anyway,
let's
move on.
This is a great thing for Adobe to be doing for very simple reasons. One, it's not to prevent piracy. This is not why they're doing it. It's going to indoctrinate more people to use their software, because if it's just $50 a month, probably with student discounts and whatever, instead of thousands of dollars every year or so. And you get every Adobe product instead of paying the $1,000+ just for a subset like Production Premium, like I used to do. I'm using a lot of Adobe software I never would have touched before. My entire workflow of media has moved entirely within Adobe software. I can't leave now.
Yep, I don't even use it that much.
Well, I could leave, but it'd be a pain in the ass.
It's like I use Lightroom a ton, and I use Premiere probably second most, and Photoshop third most.
But
and
now
I
I'm
really
using-
don't use a lot of the other stuff.
I use
but
After Effects, InDesign.
I use
and
After Effects a little bit.
I'm using it more and more. I'm using InDesign more and more.
I uninstalled InDesign because I couldn't figure it out.
You know what you're going to use it for? If you publish a tabletop game, InDesign.
Yeah, probably, yeah. But
I'll teach you. I'm starting to learn.
I actually installed Flash Builder, which is a fork of Eclipse that lets you make Flash apps.
Yeah.
And things like that. And I was like, well, I didn't know this. I sort of knew it existed, but I was like, whoa, this is actually pretty great.
Also, Adobe Media Encoder, I'm using it a lot more.
Oh,
not just
that,
exporting out of Premiere.
I use that the most.
Yeah.
Because I'll record everything with Fraps, and I'll just turn them into MP4s and delete the RAWs. So
anyway,
save space.
2, now, anyone who's using Adobe software is always going to have the current version. You never have to, again, deal with that shitty contractor who actually only has CS3 and can't import the file you gave him with revisions. 3, the reason all this enterprise software sucks is because the old model of pay for it doesn't work when you actually need to keep updating the software to fit with modern times. Shit's changed. Since Cool Edit came out, I need to be able to edit 5.1 surround audio. Old Cool Edit can't do that.
Nope.
Audition can do that.
Yep.
Audition can do more things than Cool Edit could.
Even Premiere can do that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
this is great for Adobe, and I've seen almost no legitimate complaints other than from
I want to pirate
grognards
it, but you still can.
and non-professionals or people who are being disingenuous about why they're mad.
Okay.
But anyway, things of the day.
So do you remember at the famous Penguicon?
The Penguicon, where Neil Gaiman,
The only
got
Penguicon
tipsy
we went to?
and told stories to us and hung out with our friends, and Steve Jackson made that chaos machine, and we totally blew him off because we didn't know who he was.
So the Chaos Machine.
We had Wi-Fi on a cell phone driving through Canada in an era where none of us had cell phones.
All right, but I'm talking about the Chaos Machine.
Okay, so the chaos
It was
machine.
basically Marbleworks unplugged. It was crazy-ass Marbleworks.
I will link to some pictures of the chaos machine that I found recently.
So what did we try to do with the Chaos Machine that we failed to do?
Perfect error handling.
No.
That's what we tried to do. That's what I was trying to do.
Me and
every now
Steve
then a ball would-
Pomeroy attempted to make an adder.
Okay, you were doing that. I was trying to deal with occasionally a ball would pop out. I was trying to make a system that would catch all the errors and feed them back in so the machine would run forever.
Right, so...
Until the batteries ran out.
No, it was plugged into the wall. Remember?
I don't
had the
remember.
elevator, remember?
Right, but we got to a point where the elevator could not deal with the load because too many balls were in it and it was too tall.
But...
Oh
So
my God, that was so long ago.
We couldn't make an adder because there was no way to store state. We basically needed a switch to make an adder, something that when a marble hit, it would flip such that the next marble would do something different, all right, than the previous marble.
I believe there was one switch that would flip between go left, go right.
It would always go left and right, but we couldn't use it to store a state, right? We needed to do something if a ball came in the right, and if the next ball, like the first ball that comes in the right, should, you need to store a state, and we couldn't do that. Anyway.
Now, if you just have a series of things that flip and the first ball goes left and the next one goes right, you could do stuff with just that.
So here is a guy who has made an adding machine out of wood using marbles. This actually was uploaded in 2007, but I didn't see it until today. And it's pretty much an adder made of wood that uses marbles.
You know what's interesting? That design looks almost identical to a machine that I made with a bunch of my friends for an event in Science Olympiad called Mission Possible. Because, so this is great. We entered the first year, and the rules were like, you make a Rube Goldberg machine, you get points for all this bullshit, and then you also get points based on how close to exactly 2 minutes your machine runs to completion. So we had a clock that we made out of wood with a pendulum, and then we had a Rube Goldberg machine that did all this bullshit as fast as possible, 1,000,000 points, and then waited 1 minute and 45 seconds, and then did the last thing. Next year, they changed the rules and said that you can't have parallel processes like that. So we found a loophole. We made a machine that looks exactly like what you just showed me. That would basically, the only difference is our channels had holes at certain points so that when the state machine got to a certain point, it would trigger behavior to continue the Rube Goldberg machine. And we won again, and they changed the rules again to prevent us from doing that.
Anyway, but yeah, this is an adder. If you wanted to know how your computer or a hand pocket calculator adds things together, which it pretty much does constantly, this is how it does it, only with electricity instead of marbles.
Now, that's when computers get kind of amazing. I mean, you think about 1 megahertz, 1 million things per second going on. So adding shit together.
So every time one of the things in this machine goes click, that is a hertz, basically. So 1 hertz, and there's 1,000,000 of them in a second in your computer.
So my computer's processor is a lot of gigahertz.
Yeah.
And it's just adding bits together.
Oh, and isn't it a quad core?
Yeah.
So it can do 4 at the same time if you programmed it to do so.
My computer can play video, and all it's doing is adding numbers together over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And you might think, but Rim, it's also subtracting. No, it's just
subtracting
adding.
is adding, and multiplying is also adding.
Yep.
Dividing is also adding, and shifting.
Now, I've got a GPU that has some more specialized functions, but we digress.
Yeah, pretty much everything your computer does is adding.
Yep. Or you've got a complex instruction that does one complex thing.
Your computer adds, shifts, copies, moves, and writes and reads.
We did a show on RISC and CISC a long time ago, right?
Probably.
I'm pretty sure we did.
We did a show on architectures.
Anyway, my thing of the day, this is just kind of cool. It's really short. I'm going to do more stuff with it later. So last year, on the eve of Hurricane Sandy, Scott and I were at Burning Apocalypse, well, just Burning Con 2012.
I think it was Burning Apocalypse Con.
Was it? Well, I don't know if it was called that or if it was just called Burning Con again.
Or I think it was
the Triumvirate.
It was Burning Con the Triumvirate because not only was the first Burning Con was Burning Con, then Burning Apocalypse Con, then Burning Con the Triumvirate because it was the third one, and because it was not just Luke Crane and Vince Baker's games, it was also the guy I forget's in the games.
So I participated in a 4-hour, 100% in-character LARP called Inheritance, run by Luke Crane. It was easily one of the 3 or 4 greatest role-playing or gaming experiences of my entire life. And this is that entire 4-hour game in about 11 seconds. We had a camera take a time-lapse photo, and I just ran it at 30 frames per second. And it's just kind of cool to watch. And I'm going to have more things about this later, like a slowed down version and whatever. But this is my thing of the day. It's pretty cool to watch. And yes, that is Vincent Baker I'm standing over. I murdered him because the priestess told me to.
Right. Oh, also, John Harper is the third guy whose games that you could play. Anyway. So, meta moment.
We should go quick on this.
Book Club book is Player of Games. I finished reading it.
I haven't started it yet.
I am now reading the first book in the Culture series, Phlebas Considered, or Consider Phlebas. I'm not sure which one it is.
If it starts raining, I'll probably finish the book pretty quick because I'll be reading it on my commute.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been sunny and I've been biking every day for now.
Yep.
We've got a bunch of video on the internet. We're going to be at Kineticon doing a bunch of panels and running the panels and workshops
Really, all that matters right now is Anime Boston.
We're going to be at Anime Boston doing not 1, not 2, not 3, not 6, not 4, but 5 lectures.
Really, all you need to know is that we'll be at Anime Boston and you'll see us there.
Emily will also be doing a lecture. Her friend Judith will also be doing a lecture. A bunch of people we know
You don't need
lectures.
all the details. Just say go to Anime Boston. Let's move on.
Look for us. We're going to be at PAX Australia. We're probably going to be at PAX Dev and PAX Aus or PAX Prime and then PAX East again. MagFest.
MagFest, then PAX East.
Video Forums Grand Prix. So,
Oh, yeah,
Someday.
the Grand Prix backgammon round ended. New round starts tomorrow. Anyone who wasn't playing backgammon, you have a chance. Come back and play. This one's going to be
I just want to say, I told
much
you so.
easier logistically.
What did I say? People are going to abuse the doubling cube to get an advantage. What
They
did
didn't
they
get
do?
an advantage. They basically fucked themselves because a lot of the people who, this is what I said, right? It's like, sure, you doubled and you lost. Basically, these people were doubling in the game to pump up the score of the person who was beating them while the person was beating them. And then, of course, if I had used that as the tiebreaker, that person would have been severely punished because they were stupid and gave a bunch of points to someone else.
So, Scott.
But they were also punishing other people with the same number of wins as them.
Yes, which was the thing
They brought themselves down and also brought others down.
Scott, what you failed to account for is that knowing that this is a possibility, roughly a third of the players were going to take advantage of another third to use that to greatly enhance their tiebreaker.
Here's what I could have done. I realized only now, right? Is that what I should have used as the tiebreaker was not opponent wins as in strength of schedule. It should have been how many points you gave up to your opponents in total, right?
I suggested that early on,
No,
Captain.
you didn't.
Yes, I did.
No, you didn't.
Yes,
that
I did.
way, you would be punished for how bad you sucked as opposed to rewarded for how hard your opponents were.
Anyway, Grand Prix.
Yep.
So, someday, Scott is going to die. Gabe and Tycho are going to die. Hiro from Mega Tokyo is going to die.
Obama's going to die.
The awesome lady.
Though I do not threaten his life.
Nor do I.
Don't come Secret Service again to Rim's house.
All human beings
I like Obama. He's
who
good.
are alive today
It could be worse.
are likely to die.
Yeah, pretty much.
So,
Even a baby that was born just now will die one day.
so I say likely because statistically, because of how many people live today compared to how many people have likely ever lived, the statistical death rate is not 100%.
Maybe, but even if we discover some sort of way to like cut telomeres so that they stop shrinking and you won't die by getting old, if you live long enough, you're likely to die by car accident.
So all I'm saying is that statistically, the death rate of humans is not 100%.
I
right
disagree
now.
because if you live long enough, the odds of getting in a car accident approach 100%.
But if you study humans, forget your anecdotal bullshit. If you study humans, the absolute death rate, which doesn't just include firearm deaths and car deaths, but kids starving to death in Africa. The death rate is still not 100% because so many people are being born so fast compared to the number of people who have ever died.
I don't think anyway, you will die. Anyway.
I've read so many statistical articles talking about this amusing statistical anomaly that might not be rectified
Everyone
anytime
who is,
soon.
I will bet all my life that's everyone who is born now and born for the foreseeable future will one day die.
Oh, yes, but I'm saying that the statistical rate is not 100%.
Whatever.
And I think it's probably too late for us, but I think there will be, we're on the cusp as humans of having people who are effectively ageless.
Yeah, when we discover, I said, the genetic engineering to, make telomeres stop, ruining themselves, we will have people that basically don't age and will only die of, they'll be like elves. They'll only die of disease or murder or car crashes.
Or crazy.
Or murderers or poison or, whatever.
Yeah, but anyway, what I'm saying is that I think it is possible that in my dying days, I will see the first people for whom this is true.
I hope that they do not discover it when I am very old and then try to give it to me, thus locking me in at oldness forever.
Unless they can also rejuvenate.
Very unlikely.
I think what I'm really hoping for is that we have the ability to dub or record or store the state of an existing brain, and that I do not succumb to severe senility, so that there will be an ability to record some simulacra of my personality and put it on the internet to piss around and annoy people for the rest of eternity.
Is not the data I have already placed on the internet very close to that simulacra?
I would argue no, because as the listener does not realize, people who listen to Geeknights but do not know us in person tend to have the opposite idea of what our two personalities are like in the real world.
That may be so, but it is an inaccurate simulacra, but a simulacra nonetheless.
It is. Our simulacra are out there. How many kids are changing and saying penis on the Parthenon, even though they're not really sure where that came from?
None. But yeah, I put as many bits on the internet as I can. Perhaps, I guess, I don't know what the word would be. But
So
in
anyway.
a vain attempt at, grasping immortality of the digital nature.
Because while I cannot likely be immortal, I would like for there to be some kid somewhere who, listening to Geek Nights and looking at the memes I put out there, basically becomes me. And I would love for someone else, because I'm not going to do it, to write a sci-fi story where a guy basically programs a series of memes on the internet such that someday in the future a child will grow up, encounter all of these memes, and his personality will be reprogrammed to be exactly that person.
That sounds exactly like Diamond Age. Also
Not Diamond Age.
Also Ready Player One.
Not Diamond Age. Diamond Age has a somewhat different but similar
I'm saying it sounds like somewhere, right? Diamond Age, Damon, Ready Player One, all three of those are like that, similarly.
Yeah, similar. Anyway, but the reality is Scott's probably going to die.
Garen definitely, but not before
not
you.
Rim.
Not before you do.
Your last words are going to be Rim still lives. Rim yet lives.
It's going to be a John Adams, Thomas Jefferson situation.
That's what we're going for. That's our last goal.
That's the best possible scenario.
So
do you want me to dance on your grave or pee on it?
I plan
or drag my butt on it.
I was gonna say I plan to drag my bottom over your grave.
Well, it's not gonna happen because you'll never see my grave. Because I won't, even if I die, I won't have
Scott,
one.
Cremation's not an excuse. I'll find your ashes, pour them out, and I'm not gonna fuck up.
You gonna drag your butt in the ocean?
I'm not gonna fuck up like the Big Lebowski.
All right, put him in a volcano. That way, drag your butt on that. Toss me, go to the tropical island where I want to go, and then ashes in the volcano.
So Scott's gonna die.
Rim's gonna die.
I'm glad you finally noticed that I didn't imply that I was gonna die.
Right.
Our bits, we put so many bits out on the internet. What's going to happen to them?
Well, a lot of them will stay there for a while, right?
For a while.
Bits that are like sort of held by a company. It's how long does that company live, right?
Well, so if we're talking about the internet, let's go crazy here.
So
companies are not human,
Nope.
but they have a sort of agency that is the collective will of all the humans that make them.
And they don't necessarily have to die. They are like elves, and that they will not die of age. They will only die of being murdered or
But it's interesting that companies do things that are not the will of any one individual running those companies, but they're sort of this meta will. They're basically gods or egregores, which is kind of fucked up that corporations have become gods, yet we have not.
Yes.
But, I could be a god.
But a corporation such as Google, right, can keep my website in its cache, or the Wayback Machine can keep my websites in its cache forever, as long as those organizations continue to exist.
And
even if
want
all
to.
the people working for those organizations die, as long as they hire new people and the organization survives and does not change its mission, those bits will survive.
But there's one other caveat that's very important. If they want to.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but if I'm dead, do I care what they do?
But I thought you put all your bits out there to make more yous appear later.
I do care, but once I'm dead, I don't care anymore because I can't.
But I care now.
Exactly.
So here's the problem. Our society is pretty fucking shit at planning beyond the realm of one or maybe two human lifetimes.
See, what it really is not how much do I care about my bits after I'm dead. I'll be dead. It's how much do other people care about my bits when I'm dead.
Well, it's
won't be
also
dead.
How much do you care while you're alive about leaving an impact after you're dead, so you'll know dying that you
because
did something.
you're a vain and egotistical piece of monster.
Scott, how long have you known me? So the problem is our society has not dealt with this. Our legal system, our Congress, our laws, our rules, our terms of service do not deal with this at all.
Some of them do, but very poorly.
Yes. So let's go through the Geeknights use cases of you and me. So first off, we've both got Gmail accounts. Mm-hmm. Several of them.
Yep. I only have one.
Yeah. So if I die, can anyone get access to that?
Google can.
Yeah. So what about my mom?
I would have to put something in a will. Well, your mom, I hope, will be dead before you. Not that I want your mom to die, but, she's older than you.
Right? Are you threatening my mom?
No. But I'll make your mom joke. Right? You put in your will for it to go to somebody, and I guess, does Google have to obey that shit?
Probably.
Okay.
Because you could argue that it's your property. You could leave instructions. So here is where I want to skip.
But is it your property?
The usual discussion that happens.
You want to
around
skip the
this.
legal business?
No, I want to skip the usual discussion. And I want to get right to the uncomfortable hypotheticals and the unpopular opinions.
You die sad and alone? There's no one to leave shit to? No one cares?
I personally believe that we need to move beyond the idea of the rights of the dead. And I think in ideological views, from an ideological perspective, that once you're dead, your data should be public domain. But pragmatically, I recognize that that is problematic for a lot of reasons.
Well, think about this, right? Let's say, right, someone, I have my emails. The emails become public domain. I would actually be like, yeah, just publish my emails when I'm dead, right?
Yep.
But that includes emails sent to me by others who maybe yet live.
But at the same time, if you were alive, you're perfectly within your rights to publish them while you're alive.
Maybe it's one of those emails from a company that says, don't publish this, it's private.
But do those even hold up in court? The answer is almost always no.
No.
And two, maybe I have a moral ability, unless I signed an NDA, to publish anything you give me. Because
but then
is it a crime for me to relate to you the conversation I had with our friend Scott Johnson regarding your mom?
If it is not a crime, though, am I being a dick even though I'm dead, giving the finger from beyond the grave?
But can you ever say that someone is being a dick for doing something so simple as simply speaking the truth? Are you not a dick for opposing truth in any situation?
I approve of saying truth, right?
But
when it upsets people, but most people do not like truth saying, as per the Boas's comic.
If Uncle Joe dies and suddenly everyone in his family looks at his email and finds out just how many furry porn pay sites he was subscribed to, and all his internet girlfriends, and how much Viagra he was buying, and how much he hated Aunt Myrtle, and how he cheated with Aunt Myrtle on Uncle Mark, then
Uncle cheated on Uncle with the That's a great one. We need to make a movie out of that.
I mean, I basically have every email and every IM and every online conversation I've ever had since 1996.
I have a lot of them. I haven't been quite so diligent as Rim in keeping them all, but
the first thing I ever said to Scott,
I've kept a lot of them.
And I'll paraphrase because I don't have it handy right now, is, hey, it's me, that long-haired guy from Anime Club. You want to go to Gracie's?
Yes.
And then Scott's like, sure, be there in 5.
Okay. There you
go.
Yeah.
So what do we do about this? Forget the technical standpoint. From an ideological standpoint.
Ideological or practical?
All right, forget both. Combine them. What should we do? What should the law say about an email account of someone who died? If they did not say anything in their will.
Then it should belong to is it cloud email, or do they host it on a computer they're paying for hosting?
Let's say Gmail, because everyone uses Gmail these days.
I guess Google can just make whatever policy they want.
So is that moral? Should it be considered property that goes to the estate? Or is it a violation of the dead person's property or privacy to give it to the estate if the estate was not directly willed it and there was no prior cause to say the person wanted it to be public?
Well, how about this?
Say the person said, I never gave anyone the password and I die. Should Google be allowed to give the password to my mom?
If I gave no instructions?
Yeah.
That's the thing. What if I didn't want mom to see it? Or maybe
mom's going to find out about your adult baby diaper play.
Right. Maybe I really did want mom to see it because there's a nice message in there like, Mom, I miss you. I'm dead.
Well,
what if I send my mom an email from beyond the grave? And my account...
I just listened to a pretty good pseudopod about that.
Yeah.
Well, it was basically a guy gets lost driving, so he calls. I don't know, this is when cell phones first came out.
I got ghost plans, all right?
So he calls his wife. He's like, yeah, I'm lost. Can you come? And his wife's like, God, fine, I'll come get you. Just hang out. And they're talking on the phone. And then she comes around the corner and she sees an accident and it's his car and he's clearly dead and he's just lost somewhere on the phone. And it was actually a pretty well done and creepy story.
Nice. But yeah, I have plans for being a ghost. That's why I'm not going to write anything in a will, because I'll just take care of it from the afterlife. I'm going to haunt your ass if you're still alive, which you won't be, but I'll haunt someone else instead.
I don't know about you, but I plan to be a fight king.
A fight king.
Because that's pretty sweet.
I'm going to haunt some motherfuckers.
You know, it's funny because you just watch Adventure Time. In Venture Brothers, there's a whole bit about ghosts and who they're allowed to haunt and why that I can't reference because you haven't seen that show.
I just want to haunt everybody.
You don't really want to haunt everybody.
Why not?
What if it's like Ghost and you're just a hobo on a subway car and it sucks?
No, I want to be like, ooh, I'm like Casper. Everyone's afraid, even though I'm nice.
I don't know. I kind of feel like we need some sort of generic societal change such that information that could be retrieved about dead people should be retrieved maybe by the government if there's no instructions otherwise, or even if there are, and released to the public domain maybe after an interval.
Yeah, I think you could have an interval of like a generation.
Yeah, like maybe 50 years. If you die, the 50th year after you die, every piece of digital information that can be found about you is public domain.
All right, now let's talk about a slightly different situation, right? Let's say I've got, a bunch of data and I have it hosted on a hosting company like Linode.
Oh. Well, you know what? Let's use the Geeknights example. Libsyn. There are like 1,200 episodes of Geeknights on Libsyn that will disappear the day our credit card runs out.
Right. So the bill we still have backups here on a physical hard drive. So someone who can collect that hard drive in a will can collect the episodes. But they will not be available on the internet anymore to download if that Libsyn account stops getting paid. And if I die, it'll stop getting paid.
Now, what I'd like to do, because
once my bank account is empty,
we've got an interesting situation in general that all these webcomics and online media never existed before. The generation that made them is primarily young, so we haven't run into this yet. But eventually, there are going to be comics and TV shows, entire YouTube TV shows that the creators just made, moderately popular.
Well, the YouTube ones will stay on YouTube as long as YouTube lives.
But will YouTube keep an account forever if there's zero activity on it? 10 years.
Yeah. So far, they have.
Yeah, so far.
They have no they don't delete videos unless it's a copyright or the person asks for it to be deleted or something.
All right, so someone suddenly starts sending copyright notices and there's no one to respond.
Well, let's say somebody puts up MP4 videos just on their website or like on Amazon S3 and they stop paying the bills.
Now, I don't think private companies are under any obligation to keep that stuff up.
They are under none whatsoever. In fact, they will just turn it off because you're not paying the bills. And they'll delete your shit.
So what do we do? Our society is going to hit this brick wall where people who are about our age are going to be old and have grown up watching TV shows effectively where there's no corporation to keep them alive. So suddenly they disappear from the internet forever.
Well, some cases you have, right, where, somebody has a backup somewhere who cares about that thing and keeps it alive, right? For example, even things we have today that are old, like really old busted video games from a long time ago, someone downloaded it back in the day, someone has the floppies, and they put it on the internet, and then someone else downloads it and gets an emulator and puts it up on the internet again and keeps, there's
as long as someone cares.
Right, the people who are alive, as long as they care, they fight to keep it available, and it's up to them.
So in that case, we need to update copyright law to have found media and sort of orphaned media protections so that people can redistribute stuff when there's no one left to redistribute it.
Yeah, it should be like the digital museum law. Like if you find something old and lost that's digital, you can host it on the internet with your will.
Scott, the public domain did that just fine until we extended it so long that by the time it hits the public domain, it might already be too late.
But what about the things that no one cares about, but we should still, I believe philosophically, keep everything alive even if no one cares? You're basically saying only the things people care about will live.
So I'm going to propose, here's the transhuman, transcendent, cool idea. Forget the government doing it. Our government can't do anything. I think someone needs to found something akin to the modern equivalent of a monastic order of technologists.
You mean the archive.org?
Yes, but it needs to be a little more like Foundation, a little more monastic, and a little more even maybe dogmatic, such that we have this body that is greater than the sum of the people who run it, so that it'll run in perpetuity and sort of have an almost religious or almost fanatical devotion to maintaining forgotten data forever.
There are already lots and lots of lost data. I mean, there are movies that were set on fire.
Entire seasons of Doctor Who.
Since the Library of Alexandria.
Entire television shows that were never recorded.
Library of Alexandria? Come on. This has been happening for a long time. Art that was lost.
Yes.
Castles blown up by Nazis. Castles blown up by the Allies that were in Germany, right?
So I think there should be, in the Constitution of the U.S. at least, our Constitution is very clear about the purpose of copyright. Its only goal is to promote the creation of useful works.
The progress of arts and science. And
so everything else is just BS. Our goal is just, as long as people keep making more stuff, that is the goal, and everything should serve that goal. I think we should add a secondary clause and to maintain the existence of previously created works.
Maybe.
For the enjoyment
that just gives
of
Congress
all.
the power to do something.
Exactly.
It doesn't give them a mandate to do it, which is what is really needed.
Well, all right, so forget government. We should found a monastic order.
Right.
Like archive.org, but with dogma and...
Now, that takes care of your arts and things like that, but there is more data than just art out there.
But at the same time,
copyrighted
a lot of that
things.
data is just noise.
Right. But do you want to save that with my tweets?
I think, well, someone needs to, because the thing is, tweets are, and I'm not joking or making light of it, tweets are the modern equivalent of open letters in a lot of cases.
What about my text message history? What about my voicemails, or which I've deleted most of ever?
Voice mail?
I'm saying.
Why would you mail voices?
There's a lot of data out there that is, just out hanging out. Like, what if I use some startup's GPS tracker of like a bike route I took one day? Do we got to keep that?
So I'm thinking I might, for serious, update my will to literally say that upon my death, everything I have ever created over which no one else has joint copyright is public domain.
Yeah, why not?
I'm thinking about doing something like that.
See, what I'm thinking about doing.
But the thing is, the problem is, even if you think, yes, I'll do that, people don't know technology, especially not lawyers. So you need to set up a technological means to make that happen. You need a USB stick and a physical piece of paper in a safe deposit box with the passwords to everything.
I was about to say, I'm thinking about going and getting a safe deposit box and putting in instructions how to get in all my accounts.
I'm going to put a hard
passwords.
drive, like 4 USB sticks, and all of them are encrypted, and the password to decrypt them is in my will.
Right. And I'm going to put all this stuff in a safe deposit box, and there's another reason I'm going to do that, besides the practical reason, so that if I go to a fancy bank in Manhattan, there's a real fancy safe deposit box. It'll be
You can go in and use all those services.
It's going to be like, ooh, look at I'm in a fancy-ass lobby, and there's a giant-ass safe, and I get to go in there like it's a movie. Ooh, is Ocean's 11 coming in here soon? Ooh. It'll be fun, and I'll probably have to pay money for it, but it's not that much. How much do they cost? I get the tiny one.
I've never had a safe deposit box.
My mom had one. Let me search. Manhattan safe.
I mean, when I was a kid, I had a safe.
What's the fanciest bank in Manhattan?
I don't know. It's probably something you've never even heard of because only rich people can even use it. It's secret.
I'm gonna go to it.
It's not FDIC insured.
First Bank of Manhattan. That looks like they would have one.
Anyway, so the moral of all this is there's no good answers. Even at a young age, you should think about what you want to happen to all your data, and if you care at all, set up some means for your wishes to be fulfilled, but more importantly, set up the technology such that they will be fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know what to do, at least think about what your family or your friends might want to have happen. Because imagine if you die and no one could get access to your email, and they're really sad about that. But at the same time, imagine if they got access to your email, and it's all... I've already talked about different fetishes, trying to think is the worst thing they could find in there. They find out you were a
Cute
hitman
cat pictures.
your whole life.
Yeah, no. What I think you can do is, if you're the same philosophy as me of that you're dead, who cares what happens after you're dead? That's why I won't buy life insurance for myself, because what the fuck? I buy life insurance on someone else, not for me. I'm gonna be dead.
Would you let someone else pay for life insurance on you that pays out to them?
Sure, I don't give a fuck.
All right.
I don't give a. I'm not gonna be dead. I'm just not gonna pay my living money for money. Right?
All right. So me and 1,000 listeners are gonna get life insurance policies on you.
As long as you're not guilty of fraud, I got laws protecting
Not fraud.
me.
I'm just saying that gives us a pretty high incentive for you to not make it too far.
It's fine.
It's
There's
fine?
laws protecting me.
But you're dead. What do you care?
can't spend your life insurance from jail. You don't think the detective's the first thing he's going to do in the murder case is look and see who has life insurance on me?
Oh, yeah. And you know what? You eventually get you have thousands of people have life insurance policies on you. Eventually, one of them's just fucking crazy.
Oh, you think you're hoping the other guy will do it?
I'm not going to do it. I'm not stupid.
Your payout's going to be low when the numbers get too big. Anyway.
No, because I have one of the first, I have like $1 million policy.
What? Anyway. The point is that, if you believe that you should worry about the people who are alive and what the people who are dead think doesn't matter because they're fucking dead, right? Then if you're concerned about your things and your data after you're dead, ask the people who are still alive what they want, and then because of laws require you to put in a will, just put whatever they want in the will, the people you care about, so that they get what they want because you're dead. What the fuck do you care what you want?
Make sure you enable the technology. Store the password. Set up a way for it to actually happen. Otherwise, it won't. Don't trust the companies that have the data, like Facebook, to follow the instructions of the will. Make sure the password's in the will somewhere.
Yeah.
And if you want to commit awesome crimes 20 years from now, be a lawyer and be the one who takes everybody's wills. This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geeknights is not one, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.
So it's basically like a repo, but for Windows.
Yeah, Java, Adobe Air, Shockwave, Silverlight, Flash, right? Pretty much everything. VNC client, Launchy. I use Launchy. 7-Zip.
I don't use Launchy anymore. I used to.
WinRAR.
Because Windows just kind of does that now.
The thing in the start menu when you push the window key is not that good.
I've never started typing something and not had it immediately give me what I wanted.
The thing is, I have Launchy configured to do one thing. It's just I have in my home, because you know how sometimes you get applications that you double-click setup.exe and they install properly, right?
Yeah.
And they go into program files and they create start menu icons.
Yep.
And the window key works great for that, right?
Window key works for bullshit. I dragged Putty onto my desktop and it shows up in there.
Really?
Yeah.
But what happens to me is I'll take something like Dwarf Fortress, which is an unzip, and I'll put it inside, users, me, applications, a folder I made. If it's an unzip type application, I put it in there, and window key hasn't been finding those, and I don't really want to go through the effort of making a start menu shortcut.
I think there's a way to configure it, because window key finds bullshit that I drop in, my home directory.
Okay, also, I really like the keyboard shortcut Alt-Space as opposed to window key.
Ah, true.
Anyway, that's a minor whatever.
Yeah.
Putty is actually something that's on here. But yeah, basically you go to this website, you check the checkboxes for all the apps you want to install, and you click Get Installer. Then it'll give you an EXE, right? And you run that, and it will install all the apps you chose. So you don't have to go around the internet finding all the Windows apps that you normally get and, collecting all these things, except I guess NVIDIA driver's not on here. But other than that, right, you just go to this one place, get one installer for all your apps and run it, and your Windows box is set.
It's Monday, May 6th, 2013. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, what to do with your bits when your meat stops working.
Let's do this.
So I won't belabor the point, but many of you noticed on Twitter in recent memory, I was arguing a bit with Ask.com because they stupidly responded to my tweet.
Really? Usually that kind of place is not going to respond to an aggressive tweet.
I never understand. It's like, well, the thing is...
Do not engage. Usually they do not engage.
It's telling that Oracle did not engage at all.
I don't think Oracle engages with anybody.
Because Oracle does actually
money.
know better. But Ask.com engaged, especially Ask.com Eric, and then magically they suddenly stopped engaging once the retweets started happening. So... the funny thing, at the very end of that, they gave me...
I guess they saw the Streisand effect coming in the in the headlights.
Well, I kind of gave them a hint in my Tumblr where I was basically like, if you're Ask.com, don't engage people like me. My job is to catch you saying something stupid in public. But really, the reason I bring it up now is that I am actually mad about the fact that semi-legitimate software like Java has bundled shitware in it.
Yeah, usually that's the realm of shit software, right? It's like some guy makes a piece of shit program, he includes some, auto-install nonsense in the installer to make money. That's the kind of thing that shady crapware does, not super pro real. So you don't see Adobe doing that. Oh, wait, you do. McAfee when trying to install a Flash plugin.
Oh my God.
Right. Up so fast. This even has useful stuff. If you get the pro version for like a sysadmin administering a whole bunch of Windows machines, you can set all the Windows machines to okay, everybody upgrade Winamp. Everybody install OpenOffice. You can do or LibreOffice now, right? You can do stuff like that with this thing. So this allows you to install a Java without an Ask toolbar, the Sun Java. And people were, Adobe, was going after Geeknights because it was skipping the McAfee, whatever.
The fact that Adobe went after it seems to be how most people learned that it exists.
It was the Streisand effect for me, for sure, but this thing is totally awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to use this the next time I have a Windows box I need to set up from scratch.
But it's interesting because years ago I would have said that the biggest problem normal people have with their computers, especially laptops, is all the shitware that OEMs bundle and that Microsoft kind of allows them to bundle. That is the number.
I'm telling you, if Microsoft, right? Here's the thing with Windows.
Well, I was about to say it doesn't matter anymore because people don't use computers; they use tablets.
It's already too late. But Windows got a bad rap with a lot of people in the world, right? Because of all these perceived problems with it, especially Windows Vista and such, right? If Windows would have Microsoft would have put their foot down and said, if you install anything on a computer that is pre-installed with Windows besides Windows, you do not get a discount from us. You have to pay full retail price for every copy of Windows. Every single OEM, like Dell and everybody, HP...
Lenovo's the least bad, and they still bundle a bunch of crap. They still bundle
a bunch of shit, but at least you can uninstall it properly.
Yeah.
Right? Every single one of those people would have stopped immediately, right? Or they would have fought first, but they would have lost. They would have stopped installing garbage like replacing the Windows Wi-Fi with a bullshit Wi-Fi manager. All that shit would have gone away, right? Except drivers.
I just still don't understand how the ecosystem got to the point where that worked.
And Windows would have had a much better reception among people because using it would have been much more of a pleasure. It would have been the intended experience and not this fucked up, oh, my computer's broken.
But
yeah, because the person who sold you your computer broke it. It's not Microsoft's fault.
Paid whom? Where did the money actually come from? So maybe McAfee pays Lenovo to include it in their bullshit.
Right, I can understand those cases.
But then how does McAfee make that money back?
Who is paying... Right, I understand that McAfee will pay Lenovo to include antivirus-free trial. That makes sense. Who pays Lenovo to include Lenovo Wi-Fi Manager?
I think they do it on their own for a better user experience.
But it ruins it. The built-in Windows Wi-Fi Manager is amazing and great. It works perfectly fine. Why would you cover it up with this Lenovo one that sucks and is ugly? And at the same time, everyone gets really confused because now there's two Wi-Fi managers. You're only ruining it.
I think what I find the most amusing is that Lenovo and other people always do this kind of ineptly. They'll add things to the taskbar and they try to make them look like they belong there.
Lenovo Battery Manager.
Now, but the thing is, the battery manager, obviously is just slightly the wrong color and just kind of the wrong bezel, and it's obvious that it shouldn't be there. Though,
at least to us, to normal people, they have no fucking clue.
Though the battery manager does include some things you can't do with the Windows one involving actually controlling some deep parameters in the battery.
Right, you should be doing that in a driver, right, for the battery.
I'm not saying that.
That handles the battery properly without changing the user interface, right, whatsoever. And Windows actually includes facilities to do things like that properly, like NVIDIA. When you go to, but you know, usually real software does not do that. It's a low-life thing to do.
So I don't know what to do about it because Java, I mean, unless Oracle drops it, it actually causes problems for pretty much everyone who has a company that makes Java using software, and it's not easy to just rewrite everything in another language.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just mad about that lately, and I'm not going to let it go. That's all I got there. That's my opening bit.
Well, actually, because of this, I learned about this really interesting thing I didn't know about before.
Oh, yeah. You sent me a link about this.
Called Ninite, or Ninite, Ninite, right? And what this thing is, I think I'm going to start using this.
Watch, it's malware.
No, it's not. I verified this.
How'd you verify it?
I went and asked around, and I went to...
Who did you ask?
People I know.
Okay, just because a lot of people we know install a lot of wares.
I also checked around the internet in multiple places that are the kind of places that verify malwares and can be trusted.
All right.
Including like security websites.
All right.
And yeah, there's a lot, like NASA uses it, like legit. Like,
NASA or NASA?
And it's not just because it says on the front page that NASA, Harvard, and Tupperware all use this. I actually went and checked to see if NASA actually used it, and they do.
All right.
So the way this thing works is you go to this website, and there's a bunch of checkboxes, right? And there's checkboxes, I realized looking through it, for pretty much every app that I would install on a Windows computer. Here's the ones that I would pick. Chrome, Firefox, Steam, Google Earth, maybe. I don't know.
You know, I always install Google Earth. I haven't actually used it in like 3 years.
Yeah. Skype, maybe. Google Talk or Pigeon or whatever. All the IM clients are on there. iTunes, VLC, maybe Hulu, Winamp, maybe, right? Spotify, maybe.